Hospice is a philosophy of care. It's how to keep people comfortable at the end of life, how to make sure that the family knows what's going on and that they're there and willing to be part of the dying experience for somebody.
When I got down here, one of my very closest friends was in Riverside in the hospice unit. She had contracted cancer and was dying, and I went down to visit with her, spent the afternoon. And I learned a lot in that time, and that really got me going. And I thought of all the pastoral care work I've been doing here in Williamsburg, we need some place for people to go without having to get transportation to Riverside, down to Newport News, or to Richmond. I started really thinking seriously about getting people together. Just about that time, a message came out in the newspaper. Anyone interested, please come. We're going to get together and talk about starting hospice possibly here in Williamsburg.
It really was a fluke. I was asked to do a class at Williamsburg Presbyterian Church on end-of-life issues, and we were talking, and I was supposed to talk about care at the end of life of those who are dying. And I had read an article about Cecily Saunders, who in England had started a hospice. And I talked about a hospice concept and the philosophy of how we care for the dying. And as a result of that, when I finished, somebody raised their hand in the audience and said, well, why don't we have a hospice in Williamsburg? And I said, we could if we had people interested.
Got a telephone call from Katie Webb, who was the head of the health department there, saying, Cynthia, I've got some wonderful news for you. She told me that we had been accepted and could start treating families whenever we were ready. That was a good day.
I was the first paid professional director that was hired by the board in 1983. And it was Hospice of Williamsburg at that time. My role was to turn it into more of a professional organization that would fundraise, that would start new programs, get more people in the community involved, and to educate the community on what hospice was, because in 1983, nobody knew what it was. My passion for this started when I had a good friend that got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and was dying in Columbus, Ohio, and he had hospice, and that was the first time I really heard about what hospice was. This really was my mantra for all the 30-some years I've been involved with this organization. I asked him what scared him the most. And he said, Linda, there's 3 things. I'm afraid of the pain. I'm afraid of how much pain I'm going to have. I'm afraid of being left alone. And he says, I'm afraid of losing my dignity. When our guests come through that door, it's the hardest door to come through. But once you come through with your loved one and you look around at this gorgeous, beautiful home and you say, if they take this good care of this place, they're going to take really good care of the people that I love, that I'm bringing into here.
I learned about Hospice House through my church. We actually had someone from the house come over to speak at my church about the organization. And so I was familiar with the name, at least. Didn't really know much more about it, but the recognition of the name helped me because my family needed the services in 2019. My father had reached end of life at that point, and I remembered someone coming to the church to speak about Hospice House, and so I told my mom and my brother we should explore it for my father. And so thankfully there was a spot available for us, and we were able to get my dad here to the house, which I'm forever grateful. I had an invitation to actually join the board of directors, spent about a year on the board, and that's where I really got a chance to see how special this organization was and the leadership that was behind it. And then about a year later, to have an opportunity to join the staff, it presented itself, and I just jumped on the opportunity. personally, I have to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to take care of this amazing team that is doing the work day in and day out to support and serve this community. Being that we're only one of about 50 in the United States, this is an amazing resource for this community, and I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we're here and we're available and ready to serve. Thankfully, this community has been amazing in their support of this organization over the last 40 years. But each year, we start over, we start at zero, and we are, given that task to do it. And so that's really our biggest challenge, making sure we have the resources that we need to do the work we do and never charge anybody that needs it to do it. The services don't really stop after a guest has passed here at the house. Bereavement support definitely is important. And I think it's important that everybody understands that, that's not just something that's given to those who come into the house. It's not just for family or loved ones who have a guest that's been here at the hospice house. We offer that service to anybody in this community who needs it. And it's okay to reach out and ask for some help.
Oh, I remember one of our volunteers actually took a fella up in an airplane. He was a pilot, and our guest had been a pilot, and he wanted so badly to do a last flight. And he took him up, and it was just absolutely amazing.
Quite a few people had mentioned to me different experiences that they had had at Hospice House of Williamsburg. So who knew that I would have a need for it? My husband, being diagnosed with colon cancer, needed to look at a place to transition. His stay here was a little less than a week. I guess what always touched me and still touches me is that it's, there's an overwhelming sense of just peace. And, I'm still grateful for it. It'll always be etched in my mind. Coming back today, even I remember thinking it was the winter when we were here. It was January. But still, I remember bird sounds and, I hear them today still. It's a blessed place.
This is a family affair. We take care of everybody, the family, the patients, so it's a group effort. And here at Hospice, we are truly a home away from home, that we really get to know the patient. We ask the family to give us as much information as possible so that we can actually become part of that family and understand what everybody is going through. And it is very important to us, and one of our big mottos here at the Hospice House is that nobody ever dies alone. We literally will go in and sit on the side of the bed, hold their hands, hold them, whatever they need to get through that end of life, so that they're not alone.
I think that bringing Mom here, because she was afraid of dying, and I knew the hospital wasn't the setting for her, and I knew that this was where she needed to be. Mom sensed, I think, right away just the feel of the place, and that they greeted her with that dignity and just reassured her that they were going to take care of her, that they were going to ensure that she was comfortable. And they told her that they were going to take care of me. And I think that's what she needed. She needed to know that at the end of her life, that I was going to be taken care of. Even the simplicity of the cardinal outside the window, and how Heidi saying to me, "Your dad's waiting for her." I think that just that awareness as a whole was just so much more than I had ever expected.
I found out about Hospice House through Centera. I had taken my wife home for home hospice, and they told me that I may want to consider looking into a hospice house. One thing about a hospice house, I didn't realize that it was free, and I was amazed to get this type of service and it didn't cost you anything. My wife loves flowers, and when I got here and I looked around and I saw the environment, I knew she was right at home. I walked on one side of the campus. When I came back, my wife was out in the garden. My sister had actually taken the bed and rolled it out there. And I'm going, oh, was she supposed to do that? And the staff came out and said, yes, definitely roll it out there.
The most rewarding part of my job is just knowing that I've helped not only our guests at the end of life, but to have helped other family members, you know, through the grieving process and through a very stressful time. And if we can help just that tiny bit to take some of that away from them at this time, it's really important and it's very rewarding.
Hospice House now is a dream come true. It was something that we thought would work, and we felt the need for it was really there, but it has become something that is so important. And having used hospice when my husband died, I know what it means to have that care, that love, that ability to be with somebody and be guided by people who know what they're doing, that our guests can be comfortable. And I think the community, those who have experienced it, really know what it is. There are a lot of people out there who still don't understand the beauty of having something like this at the end of life. It's so important.